Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Eternals of Truth, brought to you by Progress Kentucky. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We have got I think it's a useful show. We're going to cover a couple of important Kentucky political news stories. They're kind of national and international news stories with Kentuckians featured prominently in them, I guess, which, it's always interesting. And then we are super excited to be talking with independent Capitol correspondent Olivia Krauth, who writes the highly informative Substack, The Gallery Pass. If you've not been reading The Gallery Pass, you need to do it, especially if you are interested in what's going on in Frankfurt. So we're going to get a General Assembly update from her here on this episode. So glad that you have tuned in. But before we jump into it, I want to make sure you're ready to do the work to make things a little bit better in Kentucky politically. So the next 10 months, we, Progress Kentucky, hopefully you there, Progress Kentucky supporter, interested bystander, I don't know. We're going to be focused on flipping the Kentucky 6th district. This is, the district that has been represented by Bootlicker Barr for quite some time. 2016, is that when he won? 2014? 2012, beat Ben Chandler, has been there ever since. He is now running for Senate. More on that later. And this is a rare open seat within Kentucky 6th District, which really is centered on Fayette County, Lexington, but then has 15 other counties around it. So a lot of more rural counties, but really important vote centers like in Madison County and Woodford and other places, Scott County. So, this is a really important area for Kentucky, but it's not a bright red area. It's not a blue area. It's kind of purpley, right? So I think it's a great shot for us to not send a bootlicker to Washington, D.C., especially when the boots that are being licked right now are Trump's and the crazy pills that go along with that. So really is an important opportunity. And there are really important key state house seats within that 16 county congressional district, right? So it's kind of a twofer. You get to work on state house seats that are really important while also working on a congressional seat, which of course is, you flip that district, you make things harder for Trump. You take away some of the Republican power in Washington, D.C. And there have been, 4 great announced candidates who are running for that seat. But we're really looking beyond the primary, working to shift the electorate who will ultimately show up next November. So really big job. If we think back to the last time that race was super competitive, it was in the first Trump midterm. And that was a race that friend of the show, Amy McGrath, lost to bootlicker Andy Barr by about 9,500 votes. So we, district's a little bit different than that time, but we are looking to, make sure we mobilize at least 10,000 new voters, bring new people who wouldn't otherwise show up in a midterm election to the polls on November. So big job. It's going to take volunteers. It's going to take time. It's going to take resources. We really do need your help. We've had a couple of amazing Flip the 6th campaign volunteer events at the Lexington Wessex Brewery Room. Our next one is coming up Monday, February 2nd. We are doing handwritten postcards to unlikely voters to get their feedback and thoughts, and sending them a survey they can fill out. We can then follow up with them on. So on Monday, February 2nd, we're going to hear from David Kloiber, who's one of the candidates. In January, we had Aaron Petrie. We'll have Sherilyn Stevenson in March, and then Zach Dembo should be joining us in April. So if you want to hear from all the Democratic candidates running for the 6th district, just make sure to come out to our monthly Lexington volunteer nights while you also do some postcarding and do some voter outreach. So we're organizing a similar effort in Madison County. So if you're in Richmond or Berea, or if Richmond's more convenient for you to get to than Lexington, like maybe folks in Estill County, circle Saturday, February 7th on your calendar. We're going to be at Richmond's Apollo Pizza from 1 to 3. Thanks to a fantastic fired up supporter, we're going to have we'll have free pizza for you, which is awesome. So if you want to help out, just make plans to join us next month when it's happening the first week of the month. And you can reach out right now and we can set you up to start writing postcards to your neighbors if you want. But we've got a an event you can fill out on Mobilize. We can put that in the show notes. We can also put that in the chat probably. So you can, find that and, go ahead and let us know you want to show up. Mobilize is a great tool. You sign up for it. It will remind you that you signed up for it, remind you where and when to be there, send you text follow-ups as well to hear how it goes. So at any rate, hope you can join us on our Flip the Six campaign. If you, for whatever reason, maybe your handwriting stinks and you don't think that handwriting postcards to voters is going to really help anyone, you can also donate, buy us some stamps. Actually, really important. Stamps are not, stamps aren't cheap, folks. So 61 cents just to send a postcard through the U.S. Postal Service. So 61 cents times the 10,000 plus postcards we want to fill out and send. That's, I don't do math, but it's a lot of money. So if you want to make a donation, that would be completely awesome. So that's a little bit of our call to action. Really, we're doing it right out of the gates because we don't want you to miss it. It's really the most important thing we're doing over the next year. And I think if you, like us, are freaked out about what's going on, at the federal level, this is the best way to put that freak out into action, right? So hope you can join us. All right, now let's check in with our co-host. Very excited to have with us, as always, or mostly always, Kimberly Cecil Jones. Dr. Kimberly Cecil Jones, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing wonderful. However, you said sometimes, maybe. Did you just say that? Glad to have me. I just want to clarify.
I'm always glad to have you, and you're pretty much always here. That's, I think, what I was saying. Joining me as always, pretty much. Most times you're here with me, which is, I think we make a great team.
Bonnie and Clyde, Ebony and Ivory, we got it going on. But I am coming to you live tonight from Louisville, Kentucky, Jefferson County. And on my biting list tonight is several entities and people. On my biting list, it still continues to be the Department of Justice, ICE, and also the Assistant Attorney General. I may butcher her name, but it's Hermet Dillon, I believe. The Assistant Attorney General, and also, once again, Nicki Minaj makes her name on the biting list tonight. Why? Because they are really messing with Don Lemon. If you don't remember Don Lemon, he was on CNN for many, many, many years as a primetime anchor. And he now is an independent journalist on YouTube, doing very, very well. And they were down in Minneapolis and Minnesota, and some of the protesters, ICE protesters and everything, they kind of went in on a church. And the reason why they went on that church, Aaron, is because the actual person there, the pastor there, also has a big time position with ICE as well. And the protesters, anti-ICE protesters, feel that this pastor basically is aiding and abetting with ICE. So Don Lemon just went inside the church as well, as a independent journalist. And the Assistant Attorney General first talked about criminal charges, but now she's saying that they might call up the Ku Klux Klan Act of Enforcement of 1871. So, and what that means is they're saying that Don Lemon is a part of a criminal conspiracy and things of this nature, which he's not worried about it. I'm not too much worried about it, but Nicki Minaj had to put her 2 cents in it now that she's all on. She's a Trumper. So that they are all on my biting list tonight. Very, very upset about it. And whatever happens around the country, it eventually comes to Kentucky. So, we need to see how this is going to go on with a journalist that's just reporting the news, and how that may affect us as it trickles down, because it normally trickles down to Kentucky.
And I just have a hard time understanding what exactly was illegal, or upsetting a church service. Is that illegal? I don't know. Anyway, all right, so I'm gonna put on my biting list, I was thinking about this, Did you know that here in Kentucky, we have our second measles case? So we've seen across the country, there's been outbreaks of measles. This is something, of course, that, we can take care of with the MMR vaccine. We can make sure that nobody gets measles. And that's a great plan. We should all get the MMR vaccine, which is safe and effective and has been proven so for decades. But of course, we now have RFK Jr. as the head of our Homeland Security. Health and Human Safety, HHS, Department of Health and Human Safety. And I'm sorry about the fire alarm that's going off, if you can hear it.
It happened when you said Robert Kennedy. So,
That is an alarm. There's an alarm.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. But now it's hopefully off. Anyway, so yeah, he's on my Biden list. The anti-vaxxer being in charge of the most important public health entity. Really, I mean, I think over time it's been the most important one on the globe, right? And there are obviously some very important international World Health Organization, which I think Trump pulled us out of, right? So but yeah, really, really important, and it is really being dragged through the mud right now, and a lot of misinformation is coming out of that entity, which is just infuriating because people are going to get sick, people are going to die, and they just don't have to. They just don't have to.
MMR. I remember it. My kids are so grown now, but it was the measles, mumps, and rubella, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, measles, mumps, and rubella. So I was the last of the Mohegans, as they call it, with the vaccination scar on my arm. I was the last year that they did those vaccinations where you had, people that's my age and older, they have it. Everybody has it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have it because you're younger than me. But I was 1967 was the last year. And I think it's very, very important because Mitch McConnell, him growing up with polio, he should be like the number one person that vaccines are reliable and they help, people to stay alive, especially our children. Yeah. So I don't know what they're doing. It's
as long as they fry their French fries and beef tallow, I'm sure it'll all be fine, because the seed oils are the real problem, and the vaccines, not the the diseases that the vaccines protect us from. Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and hit into news of the week. We got some, I think, really important stories we want to cover before we get to our kick-ass and awesome guest that I'm very excited to hear from. So I think the first story, Kimberly, it's coming to us from you. Is that correct?
That would be correct, Aaron. And we're going to talk about one of your favorite people, Elon Musk, the richest man in the world. Did you know that last year in 2025, he was clocked at having $500 billion for his net worth? $500 billion. I can't even imagine having a billion. $500 billion. So I guess he took some chump change out of that. $10 million is chump change to him. And he said, well, I met this candidate that's running for U.S. Senate out of Kentucky, Nate Morris, and I'm just going to give $10 million to a PAC where I know that Nate Morris will have that for his campaign. So, he's done it. It's a done deal. Everybody's been swarming around like, oh my God, we can't believe Elon Musk is doing this. Will he give some more money? He's been asked that. Will he give some more money? He says that he's committed to all of the people that are going to be against Trump, basically, and have their own minds.
Oh, yeah. What? No, he's giving money to people who are against Trump?
What I mean on that, because you didn't let me finish my sentence, sir.
All right. Please.
Okay, is basically he wants the Republican Party to come back. So he wants to put money towards Republicans that's going to be more Republicans that we remember from a few years back, the real Republican, not a Trumper. There's a difference, ladies and gentlemen. There is a difference between a Trumper and a Republican. I just want to make sure that that is established, especially with you, Mr. Aaron Viles. So the move is tying the world's most visible billionaire to and he is this Nate Morris, what they are calling a pro-Trumper, because he's leaning towards some of Trump's ideologies. However, he's also maintaining some of the traditional Republican ideologies as well. But Musk had a meeting with him. And it was an early bet by Elon that he wants Nate Morris to be the senator here. So we're saying you're giving this money out, and the first person you're basically giving money to is Kentucky. So apparently Kentucky is on Elon Musk's radar. So in this Senate race, him donating this $10 million is just an expectation, basically, that the Republican Party in our Senate and separate reporting specifics that Elon Musk in this money is directed to backing Nate Morris in this U.S. Senate primary, but also underscoring that this is not a diffuse national effort, but a targeted investment in one candidate in one state level federal race in the heart of Kentucky politics. So, everybody is just shook, as the young people say. They say they're just shook that the first contribution basically is here to Kentucky. So what is it about Kentucky that Elon Musk wants Nate Morris to win so much? So this has also caused other mega donors around the country to possibly look at Nate Morris in a different light. However, how is this going to affect the Democrats that are running as well with all of this money? We've always put Andy Barr at the top of the Republican chain, but now it's seemingly that Nate Morris is going to be at the top of that Republican chain. But what does this mean for Democrats? It means that they need more money. And we need our mega rich Democrats to give money to the candidates or a candidate to their PAC in Kentucky, so they can have an even playing field. So who is Nate Morris, right? With this sizable check that he's received from Elon Musk. And what was that meeting actually about? This meeting, when he talked to Elon Musk very briefly, and Elon Musk really liked the things that he was saying, and they really kind of coexisted together in their thought processes. And knowing that Elon Musk wasted over $1 billion with that Doge. Remember Doge, Aaron? It seems like it was a long time ago, but it really wasn't. Elon Musk says that he likes the underdog. He likes to help underdogs become on top. He's always felt in his life that he was an underdog as well. And of course, we know that he's on top. He's 500 billion strong. So another national account of journalism notes that until now, Nate Morris, who's a founder of Waste and Recycling Company, had largely self-funded his campaign against Congressman Andy Barr, highlighting that the Musk donation marks a turning point in a race that had pitted a wealthy outsider against an established member of Congress like Andy Barr. So Elon Musk also feels like Doge did the job. Nate Morris feels that Doge is something that we do need in our government. If we do have a Doge, it needs to be totally restructured. But it'll be interesting to see, very, very interesting to see how the strategists and the analysts and the pundits, how they are going to keep their eyes on this Kentucky Senate race. It's going to be very, very interesting and somewhat entertaining, I believe. And I wonder how Andy Barr is feeling about this when he's been the golden child. And Mitch McConnell, even though he's on his way out, I'm sure he still has opinions on a lot of this. So, it's going to be very, very, very interesting. And I believe that the Kentucky U.S. Senate race is going to get a lot of media play because Elon Musk is looking at the race in Kentucky. And will he give more money?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to, I don't know, to spend $10 million in it's the primary. I'm assuming he's giving the money to survive the primary.
Yes.
I'm still skeptical that Nate Morris is going to be able to beat Dan Cameron or beat Andy Barr. I think everyone's like, oh, Andy Barr is the guy to beat because he's got more money. But, as a sitting congressman in the 6th district, which is one of the media markets of the state, not all the media markets of the state, right? So he hasn't been statewide like Dan Cameron has. I did think that his spokesman, Bootlicker Barr, because we don't like to call him Andy Barr around here because we don't really want anyone to like give him positive Andy associations. There's really only one Andy politically in Kentucky, and we love that guy. So Bootlicker Barr,
Bootlicking Barr. Okay, I like it.
His campaign manager, Blake Goober, maybe, slammed Morris as a DEI promoting CEO who he claimed supported Nikki Haley over Trump in the 2024 GOP primary. He went on to say Nate Morris spending money made this a two-man race between Andy Barr and Daniel Cameron. Nate Morris spending more money will cement it that way, Goober said. So yeah, anyway, I think, obviously this is a bit of a game changer for Nate Morris. Will he be able to use it to leverage what he's got to put him in a competitive spot with Cameron and Barr? Probably. $10 million buys a lot of negative ads where you can beat up on your opponents. And that seems like what they all want to do is beat up on their opponents, tie the other guys to Mitch McConnell while, kissing up to Trump as closely as possible. That's, I think, the overall strategy for the primary. We'll see who can perfect it and who can pull it off the best. But I think this whole thing's gross. And
I
it's
don't think Daniel Cameron's going to have a shot. I really don't.
All right, we shall see. I don't get to vote in that primary because I'm not a Republican. So, and we have closed primaries in Kentucky, so I can watch, I can offer my views, but they don't actually influence the outcome of the race whatsoever because I don't get to vote. I'll say this: the idea of one mega billionaire giving a multi-millionaire $10 million to hire a bunch of folks who make $70 an hour to convince people who make $30 an hour that the real problem in America are the folks that make $12 an hour isn't really, doesn't really espouse the best values that I like to think America is all about, but it really is a pretty clear indication of where we are as a country and where our political process is right now. That's what it all comes down to. So we need to move on to our next story because I thought we are going to be short, but we seem to be incapable of going quickly. So we got one more story to share with you guys before we get to our guest. So I know everyone wants to hear from Olivia and hear what's going on in Frankfurt. But before we get to Frankfurt, let's go ahead and go to Davos, Switzerland. So our man, Andy Barr, the only positive Andy, political Andy in this state, has...
You mean Andy Bashir?
See, look, that's why it's a real problem. It's a real problem. These Andy B's running around. Yes, Andy Bashir, our friend Andy Bashir, our governor, is in Davos, Switzerland. He did a trip to some Nordic countries, Scandinavian countries. I don't really know exactly, but doing some business. Trying to get more businesses to come to our great Commonwealth, but also I think probably enjoying some time on the world stage, burnishing his credentials as a world informed executive, perhaps making things easier for him as he seeks to get the prime executive role in the United States of America in that White House. So he went on the record saying that Trump's actions around Greenland are, quote, dumb as hell, he said in Davos. So this is coming to us from the Lexington Herald Leader. And I just got, I'm just going to give you a few of the quotes. So he said, over the course of just 1 year, this president has taken America from being leader of the free world to the bully on the playground, from trying to promote democracy worldwide and always standing firm with our allies and friends, to saying we can use force just because we can. I don't curse in public, but this Greenland play by the president is dumb as hell, he continued. It is so damaging, so concerning, and this is not who we are. Is it, though? Is it not who we are? It's certainly who Trump is. We've known that. We've known that since we put him back in the White House. So maybe it is. Maybe America is this. Maybe this is what we chose, because I would say it was dumb as hell when we put him back in the White House after he, sent a mob to keep the White House. But yeah, so I would say glad to see that he was there. Glad that he offered his insights kind of in the room, I guess. But he slammed Trump's speech and social media post calling it dangerous, disrespectful, and unhinged. Hearing the Trump speech, I would concur on all those marks. Also noted the president repeatedly confused Greenland with Iceland. So he's there joining a panel of U.S. governors alongside Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, of course, the Democrat, and Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt, who's a Republican. And on that panel, he actually did, pointed out that his administration had sued the Trump administration over social program funds, and talked with other state leaders about the role of small government in economic and workforce development. So really, I think, good that he's touting Kentucky on the world stage. I'm sure we'll have the usual chorus of folks on social media pissed off that, tax dollars went to send him abroad to help share his perspective with the world. But, I would argue that with Trump taking up so much time at the podium, good to point to a few more rational actors that are helping to lead elements of the United States of America right now. I don't know. What do you think, Kimberly?
Our wonderful, amazing governor, Andy Beshear, I believe not only did he do what he needed to do in Davos, but I think also he was also looking for opportunities for businesses to come to Kentucky, such as he did before in Ireland, bringing that one company here. So it probably was a dual trip for all of Kentuckians, and also to put himself not only on that international stage, but also to make it clear and known that our governor is very much against a lot of these policies of the Trumpism stage that we're in right now. I do agree that Andy Beshear is very much presidential because he's been an excellent governor. And yes, I like him because he's straightforward. He said it's dumb as hell. That's right, because Trump is a AZZ, So I really enjoy it. And I really don't, and I'm a taxpayer myself. And I feel like that was very much a trip that needed to be had.
Yeah, I'm glad he took it. I'll put a little bit of my tax dollars to that effort, but as
that's how they're going to be looking at Kentucky. There's probably people with him getting up there on that international stage, also looking to invest in our state. That's how you do it. You got to be seen. You got to be known.
Yep, no, for sure. Martha Lane Collins wouldn't have landed Toyota, but without her trip to Japan, that's for sure. All right, so let's move on. Really excited to chat about the Kentucky General Assembly with our next guest, who is this is her second appearance on the show. She was so awesome, so informative. We had to bring her back, but we're joined tonight by Capitol Press Corps journalist Olivia Krauth. Writes a fantastic Substack, Gallery Pass, also the correspondent on LGBTQ plus legislation for Queer Kentucky. And again, just very thrilled to have her join us. Olivia, how are you doing tonight?
I'm alive, I'm here, and that's really, during session, that's all I can really say.
Yeah. No, it seems like a pretty crazy time. We know this is a budget cycle year, right? So it's a longer process. Lots going on, a lot of moving parts. We heard the governor's address where he laid out his budget priorities, and then that, of course, goes immediately into law because he's such a powerful governor, right? That's how that works. How does this process work?
Definitely not like that.
No.
So yeah, we are still waiting on the budget bill, actually. We've had some issues in the past where typically they let the governor speak and give his budget address, and then the legislature will come out with their budget. We've had some issues where it's been like a race to get like your ideas out there first. This time, it seems like the legislature is just taking its sweet time with it. It'll be House Bill 1. The bill has to start in the House. We heard it was supposed to get filed early this week. It is no longer early this week. It will be maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday morning. Don't know. But that's just really like, that's the first step in the budget process. Whatever gets filed is not going to be the end budget, because it has to go through the House and then it goes through the Senate, typically gets overhauled in the Senate. And then they go into like a series of conference committees, and ultimately typically ends up in this thing called a free conference committee, where it's just kind of everybody around a table doing whatever they want. And that's the budget. So we'll see what exactly goes down there, but no budget bill yet.
Got you. And then, so in terms of that process, though, obviously, the most important thing they have a longer session to get it done. It's a 2-year budget, and as you said, starts in the House. The Senate will have to have its input, but it's a GOP superduper majority. So in terms of what the governor shared in terms of his priorities, right? So pre-K for all, probably the most expensive, but he had a long list of things that he wanted to do. Fully fund Medicaid. Some connect resources. I think $100 million for that. I think we saw a rural hospital fund, $125 million. Roads and bridges, money for that, and the Mountain Parkway. So lots of things that really cost a lot of money. What's his role in getting that through? Because as I didn't hear you say, it then goes to the governor for a conference, right? How does that exactly work?
Yeah, so it essentially, basically, Bashir's part of the process is really done for now. He sits there, he makes his case for his ideas, and then the legislature handles it. They deliver the bill, whatever they agree to eventually, to Bashir's desk like any other bill. Since it is an appropriation bill, Bashir can line item veto parts of it he doesn't like. He can't just like outright veto all of it like a typical bill. So he'll be able to say, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. And then the legislature, of course, can come back and override him, as they typically do. I'm sure if he wanted to, he could probably, try and talk to folks behind the scenes and really make his case, with the legislature directly. The legislature has been very clear over the past several years that he's not typically the governor who does that. They've been very critical of that. So for now, Bashir's kind of, he said what he wants, and the legislature takes it from here.
Gotcha. I imagine folks like Rocky Atkins are helping maybe kind of work the legislature a little bit more. Somebody longstanding, spent a lot of time there, still has, I'm sure, lots of relationships. But yeah, the governor doesn't seem to be the guy that gets down there and really slaps people's backs and shakes their hands and tries to move them to his point of view. Not his thing. All right.
Really.
All right, Kimberly, I know you have a question for Olivia.
Yes, I just want to make a comment on that last question that you just asked. Probably our governor doesn't want to do all of that because he knows it's a waste of time and he doesn't have a lot of time. And so why waste it, right? Yeah. But Miss Olivia, it's so good to see you again.
Hello.
You had a comment to what I just said. Did you want to go ahead on and say that?
No, not really. It was just kind of like a nod, like kind of agreement. Like, I totally get that. Yeah,
okay.
He's a busy man, especially this year. So.
Yeah, it's just not worth the time or the effort. But my question to you tonight is, I saw that there was an anti-drag bill filed. What's the prospects for that bill to pass, or any other culture war? All of this anti-LGBTQ legislation this session. Um, I love the drag queens. They taught me how to do makeup when I was 11 years old, which allowed me the luxury of moving and moving into that arena of life and actually becoming a national makeup artist for Estee Lauder. So what's going on and why they're trying to shut down the drag queens?
Yeah, so the drag bill is back. It was first filed in 2023, and then they tried again in 2024, and then they didn't try last year. And I kind of thought, okay, maybe they're done with it, because it obviously, the reason they keep filing it is because it isn't passing. And so it's back again. It's from Representative Scott Sharp, who is not the typical person to file such legislation. Um, I I'm not sure exactly its prospects. For me, it seems like a little, I don't, like a non-starter almost. I have heard some rumblings that people are expecting more bigger legislation, like the biggest, anti-drag or even just anti-LGBTQ plus legislation hasn't been filed yet. Um, And so we'll see exactly what that includes. I will say, like, we haven't seen a ton of specifically like anti-LGBTQ plus legislation filed thus far. You typically have a lot of bills, particularly in the House, that get filed like in the first couple of days around certain topics, and they get filed and then they don't go anywhere. But so far, there just hasn't really been anything. So I think that's a little suspicious. I don't know exactly why that is. So it is a very like wait and see type of thing right now.
When people are concerned about losing their jobs, they're concerned about keeping food on the table, they're concerned about the electricity bills going up higher because all of the companies have said that they're going to raise the rates of our electricity and gas up to 20% this year. Do you think that the constituency of Kentucky is really worried about the drag queens?
Not really. No. I think especially like this year, things are just with the economy, all the things you just listed, there are bigger issues on Kentuckians' minds. Um, I still think that there are a lot of Kentuckians who do just kind of would support something like that. Like they don't totally understand the concept of like drag, and they just automatically think anything that is painted as a boogeyman is a boogeyman. Um, but I don't think that this is really just like top of mind for a lot of Kentuckians right now. No.
And I want everybody to also know that every drag queen is not necessarily trans or gay. There are a lot of straight, what you want to call heterosexual drag queens that do it as entertainment, as do it as their profession. So I don't really understand it, but I'm just going to leave that alone.
Yeah, it's sad that it keeps coming up, right? It's great for the Kentucky that it hasn't passed yet. So, because it seems like pretty much whatever other anti-LGBTQ plus legislation they come up with, they tend to get something across the finish line at the end of the session, right? And overcome, Governor Beshear's veto, because he's pretty much vetoed all the anti-LGBTQ plus legislation that's come his way. So is there other stuff you haven't heard anything or seen anything yet, which you're a little bit makes you a little bit suspicious that you're just waiting, or what do you know?
Not really. I think like the vibe that I've kind of gotten so far is that there will be something probably coming from the Senate, probably coming from Lindsey Tishner, but just what that could look like, because I mean, they've kind of they go through all these culture wars topics. There's a new one every year, and I don't know exactly what they could come up with next. I really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the last year's anti-trans omnibus like checked a lot of boxes, right? It was a bathroom bill, it was like a reporting bill, it was like all sorts of is that
It
last
was
year or the year
like a
before?
ban on using Medicaid for gender affirming care, I believe. And then undoing rather this year's executive order banning conversion therapy for minors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's more. They're very creative over there in terms of way to make especially LGBTQ plus kids lives harder. That's seems to be their real passion project, I think. What have you discerned so far? What is the kind of GOP supermajority's kind of priorities right now for this session that you can see from the bills that are filed? I know obviously House Bill 1 has to be the budget, but what are the other bills, early number bills that show that there's a lot of interest?
Sure. So we're starting to see those slowly get rolled out. So with the House, I will say House Bill 2 just got filed today, and I haven't really read it, but it does have some stuff dealing with Medicaid that looks semi-important. House Bill 4 is an anti-grooming bill. So that would make it a crime in Kentucky to groom a minor for, we're thinking like a teacher giving a student preferential treatment so that once they turn 18, they can have a relationship together. Right now, that's just really hard to define. And what often happens is like the authorities can't step in until it's like too late because of that. So that is a top priority bill for the House. The Senate tends to move a little bit faster than the House. And so they already have two of their priority bills passed and over to the House. One is Senate Bill 7, which deals with the regional driver's licensing fiasco and just kind of returning some of that power to the counties themselves. That's been a big GOP thing. I don't know exactly how far that's going to go in the House. There is a similar version of the bill already filed in the House. We'll see which one wins out. Senate Bill 10 would propose a constitutional amendment to limit the governor's pardon powers. And this is something that they have filed and pushed through the Senate very quickly, many years in a row, only for it to die very quickly in the House. So not looking great this, once again. The Senate also announced two of its priority bills earlier today, including Senate Bill 1. So Senate Bill 1 is basically, if anybody's remembering last month how the Supreme Court was actually, no, you can't just target JCPS through legislation unless you have a really, really good logical reason why. You can't do that. So they're taking that exact same bill, which would essentially move a lot of the power from the school board to the superintendent. They're filing that same bill, but they filed it with 5 pages of every single one of JCPS's flaws, arguing very clearly we have reason that this is constitutionally okay. So that'll be interesting to watch. And then Senate Bill 3 is basically about school district financial transparency, making the budget process easier for folks to understand and follow, and making a lot of school board and school district budget money related documents more accessible to the general public. Reading through that, I'm obviously I spent years covering JCPS. I'm not super familiar with smaller districts, but a lot of what is called for in Senate Bill 3 seems to already be kind of in place. Some of those documents may be kind of really tricky to find, but they are publicly available. So I'm interested to see how people react to that one, because it doesn't seem like a really hefty ask. But those are the two education priorities for the Senate GOP this year.
Interesting. Well, as a parent of a child in Fayette County public schools, where they've had a lot of problems with their kind of fiscal management. I'm open to some transparency and a little bit more just regular ability to get to the information, because it seems like that's been a problem for some of the school districts, at least. But that's super interesting, super informative. This is great. I know there's lots more to come, and it's again a long session, so stay hydrated. Anything else you'd want to like draw our attention to before we let you go?
I don't think so. I mean, you're right. It is still really early in the session. It is a long session. We just finished up day 11 of 60. So a lot of the hard, long days and nights in Frankfurt are still to come. So
yeah, it's pretty slow by comparison. They don't have those deadlines really pushing them to act just yet. Are there any deadlines we should keep in mind in terms of, I know you did a really good job of laying out some specific times and dates that we should be aware of, so I can just share your Substack, because that's actually a incredible resource for anyone who wants to pay attention to what's happening in Frankfurt and doesn't have the time to just hang out on KET all the time. But yeah, anything specifically?
Yeah, that is something that I try to do with every newsletter, unless it's like a super long newsletter already. I'll just let people like wait. I try to, make sure countdown to all these different deadlines and events. But I think the upcoming deadline is in early March. There are two of them. It's the deadline to file bills. The House and Senate have different deadlines. But it's like the first week of March. So they have plenty of time to file new legislation. And obviously, of course, like committee subs are a thing. They can change things kind of whenever. Floor amendments are a thing. So just because something isn't filed, shell bills also a thing. Yeah. So just because something isn't filed by that first week doesn't mean it's not going to like pop up and be a thing. But I think that first week of March is the next deadline.
Oh, and then one question I guess I've got for you. It's called the Gallery Pass. There are no galleries this year. So did you think about changing the name, or how is it just covering it without having the same kind of public accessibility?
Well, I will clarify that there are actually galleries.
Oh, there are?
There are. They're just in the annex. That's where I spent the first day of session, and because I had to see it for myself. As the creator of the Gallery Pass, I wanted to see these galleries. And to my shock, they actually had signs outside of the rooms saying, this is the House Gallery. So in their eyes, it is a House Gallery and a Senate Gallery. But they're really just committee rooms where you're watching a live stream of what's happening next door.
Yeah, so it's CCTV. It's not two-way, I'm guessing.
No.
So they don't know who's watching them, or you can't bring a sign, which you weren't supposed to bring anyway, I suppose, or whatever. But yeah,
a lot of the rules for the galleries, and those rules were like always pretty strict. All those rules are still like enforced, and so it feels really silly being like one of two people sitting in these galleries watching a live stream and being told you can't have like your water bottle with you, or like you can't take photos or videos with your cell phone. Like it feels very ridiculous.
So like rules they don't have in the committee that they have in the gallery. Like if you're watching a committee, are there more exacting rules to be in the gallery than there is to be in a committee watching a committee do their work?
I think it's a little, it's hard to tell, because I think when it's a committee meeting, a lot of stuff is up to the discretion of the committee chair.
Oh, interesting.
So some of them will start with like, no chance, no signs, no blah, blah, blah. Like, some people let people stand, some people don't, like, it depends. But this was like, there are printed out nice signs on little pedestals, with really just like all of the rules that you would typically have in a gallery. And I want to see how long it lasts. It just seems a little extreme for a glorified like live watch party.
Yeah, a little over the top. Well, Olivia, again, thank you for your work. Thank you for sharing it with us. And again, I'm going to encourage everyone to check out the Gallery Pass or to follow you on whatever social media that you are on, because Olivia's on it as well. I think she's on all of them. It seems like, but gotta get on the Gallery Pass to see the full thoughts, and really really well done. How often do you publish?
Typically twice a week, and working on building in more stuff for paid subscribers. So
Paid subscribers. That's, as an independent journalist, help her do the work.
Key.
Yeah, and also pay her rent. That's important stuff.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Again, thanks so much. Wonderful to chat with you, and we'll check back in.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Olivia.
Thank you.
How awesome is Olivia? Just truly a resource. So just dogged in her coverage, which they don't make it easy. They do not want lots and lots of attention, what they're doing, especially as it gets to subs and shell bills, and as they're trying to move stuff through quickly. The work that she does is so critically important. But fun show. Glad to have your time, Dr. Cecil Jones. Could you do us the great honor of closing this out?
I sure can, and it was much of a pleasure to have Olivia on tonight with all of her knowledge, and we were able to ask her questions that our viewers and listeners really care about. So it was just you and me, kid, tonight, and I think we did all right. So Progress Kentucky is a nonprofit organization registered with the Kentucky Secretary of State and organized as a 501c4. We are affiliated with the Indivisible Project and Common Ground Kentucky Action, and also proud members of Forward Kentucky Network. Progress Kentucky's goal is always to educate, organize, increase voter turnout, and advance a progressive agenda through civic engagement. We'll be back next week, and we'll be joined by Kentucky State Representative Lindsey Burke. Love, love, love Lindsey. Production of episode 243 was by our very own host, Mr. Aaron Viles. You did a good job, Aaron. Kudos to you. Clap, clap, clap. Okay. Nate Orshan wrote and performed our theme song. You can find more information and music at natosongs.com. Everybody say it with me. natosongs.com. And if you miss our weekly live stream on Facebook or YouTube, audio podcast, and our show notes are always available on Apple, Spotify, and just about wherever you get your podcast. And when you do listen, please, 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 we beg of you, we beg and beg and begging for you to give us a 5-star review. It helps the algorithm, helps us. So thank you for tonight, for listening and viewing with us, and just being committed to this effort that we try to put forth for the state of Kentucky. And we'll see you next week at the same time, same channel, and have a good rest of your week.